There comes a quiet moment in life when your heart begins to whisper what your mind has been trying to silence, that what you have been calling love does not feel like love at all. It feels heavy, like something you must carry instead of something that carries you. You give and give and give, yet somehow you feel emptier each time. You excuse their absence, you justify their silence, you translate their neglect into something softer, something easier to bear. But truth has a way of standing tall in the shadows. We do not lose ourselves in love, we lose ourselves in being used. And tonight, we will open our eyes to a truth many are afraid to face, that sometimes the person holding your hand is not holding your heart. Love, in its truest form, was never meant to feel like a weight you must drag behind you. It was meant to feel like air, something that lifts you, something that lets you breathe deeper, live fuller, stand taller in your own being. But somewhere along the way, you began to measure your worth by how much you could give, how much you could endure, how much of yourself you could sacrifice just to keep someone close. And slowly, without even realizing it, love stopped feeling like freedom and started feeling like a responsibility you could not put down. You wake up thinking about what more you can do, how better you can be, how quieter you should become so they don't pull away. You begin to walk carefully around their moods, shaping yourself into something that will not disturb their comfort. And in doing so, you disturb your own peace, because love was never meant to make you smaller. It was never meant to ask you to shrink so someone else could feel whole. Real love does not demand performance. It does not keep score. It does not place conditions on your existence. It does not make you feel like you are always one mistake away from being less worthy. When love turns into obligation, it starts to sound like silent rules you were never meant to follow. You feel like you must always be available, always be understanding, always be forgiving, even when your own heart is asking for rest. And when you begin to feel tired, truly tired, not just in body but in spirit, you start blaming yourself for it. You tell yourself you are not doing enough, not loving enough, not being enough. But the truth is, love should never make you question your enoughness. There is something sacred about being loved in a way that does not require you to earn it over and over again. Something gentle about knowing you can show up as you are, flawed, tired, uncertain, and still be held with care. That kind of love does not feel like chains wrapped in sweet words. It feels like open skies. It feels like coming home to yourself, not losing yourself, trying to belong somewhere else. And if you find yourself in a place where love feels like a duty, where your heart feels burdened instead of free, then you must pause and listen, not to the excuses, not to the fear of letting go, but to that quiet voice within you that knows the difference. Because love that is real will never ask you to abandon yourself just to keep it alive. It will meet you where you are, and it will grow with you, not at the cost of you. There is a certain kind of presence that feels warm at first, almost comforting in the way it arrives so easily when your life is full, when your smile is bright, your hands are open, and your spirit is generous. They sit close then, laugh a little louder, stay a little longer, and make it seem as though their connection to you is something deep and unshakable. In those moments, it is easy to believe that what you are experiencing is real, that it is rooted in care, in affection, in something that resembles love. But time, as it always does, begins to reveal what words and gestures try so carefully to hide. Because the true test of any presence is not how it behaves in your light, but how it stands beside you in your shadows. And slowly, almost too quietly to notice at first, you begin to see the pattern. When your energy is low, when your voice carries a hint of weariness, when your hands are no longer giving but simply asking to be held, something shifts. Their calls become fewer, their attention grows distant, their warmth fades into something thin and unfamiliar. It is not that they have disappeared entirely. It is that they have retreated to a place where your need no longer benefits them. You find yourself reaching out, hoping for the same closeness they once offered so freely. You replay old conversations in your mind, wondering where that version of them has gone, questioning what you might have done to cause the distance. And so you try harder. You gather whatever strength you have left and begin to give again, to smile again, to show up in ways that feel easier for them to receive. And just like that, they return, effortless, present, almost as if they were never gone at all. But this rhythm, this quiet exchange of your fullness for their presence, begins to take something from you. You start to realize that you are not being met, you are being measured, measured by how much you can offer, how much you can carry, how little you ask in return. And love, real love, does not operate on such conditions. It does not arrive only when you are overflowing, nor does it withdraw when you are in need of care. There is a deep kind of loneliness in being surrounded by someone who only knows how to stay when you are strong, because in those moments when you are not, when your heart is heavy and your spirit is searching for comfort, you deserve more than absence disguised as distance. You deserve a presence that does not hesitate, that does not calculate, that does not wait for you to become useful again before it chooses to remain. And the truth, as quiet as it may be, begins to settle within you. You were never asking for too much. You were simply offering yourself to someone who only knew how to receive, but never how to give in return. There is a quiet kind of dismissal that does not shout, does not argue, does not openly reject you, and yet it leaves you feeling unseen all the same. You speak your truth, carefully choosing your words, carrying pieces of your heart in every sentence, hoping they will land somewhere that matters. And in return, you are met with nods, with half-listened responses, with a kind of acknowledgement that feels more like politeness than presence. They hear you, yes, but they do not hold what you say with care. At first you tell yourself it is nothing. Maybe they are distracted. Maybe the timing is wrong. Maybe you are asking for too much attention. So you try again, softer this time, gentler, adjusting your tone, reshaping your truth so it feels easier for them to receive. But no matter how you present it, the outcome remains the same. Your words seem to pass through them, leaving no imprint, no shift, no sign that what you said truly mattered. And slowly, you begin to question, not them, but yourself. You start to wonder if your feelings are too heavy, your thoughts too complicated, your needs too much. You begin editing yourself mid-sentence, swallowing certain truths before they even reach your lips. Conversations become performances of comfort rather than expressions of honesty. You learn how to speak in ways that will not disrupt them, even if it means abandoning what is real for you. And in doing so, you lose the one thing that love is meant to protect, your voice. Because love that is real does not just hear you, it listens. It leans in, it asks questions, it remembers, it responds in ways that make you feel understood, not tolerated. It does not brush your words aside as if they are temporary or insignificant. It does not make you feel like you must earn the right to be taken seriously. When someone values you, your voice is not an interruption to their world. It is a part of it. There is a deep exhaustion that comes from speaking and never feeling received. It is the kind of tiredness that settles in your spirit, making you hesitant to open up again, making silence feel safer than expression. And yet, silence was never meant to be your refuge. It was forced upon you by someone who chose not to meet you where you stood, someone who found comfort in your quiet, not because it brought you peace, but because it required nothing from them. And the truth, though it may take time to fully accept, is simple and unyielding. You are not hard to understand. You are not too much to listen to. You are not someone whose voice should fade just to make someone else comfortable. If they hear you but do not value you, if they listen but do not respond with care, then what you are experiencing is not connection, it is convenience. And you were never meant to shrink your truth just to fit inside someone else's indifference. There is a particular kind of loneliness that settles in when your pain becomes something someone else has no patience for. It does not arrive loudly. It comes quietly, in the pauses between your words, in the way they sigh when you try to explain what you are feeling, in how quickly they try to move you past your own emotions, as if they are obstacles rather than something that deserves to be understood. And in those moments, you begin to realize that your hurt is not being held, it is being managed. You gather the courage to open up, to let them see the parts of you that are not polished, not easy, not convenient, because that is what love is supposed to be, a place where you can lay your burdens down without fear of being judged or rushed, but instead of finding comfort, you are met with impatience. They change the subject, offer shallow reassurances, or make you feel as though your emotions are excessive, as though your pain is something that needs to be fixed quickly so things can return to normal for them. So you start to adjust. You tell yourself to be stronger, to keep things to yourself, to only share the parts of your life that are light enough not to weigh on anyone else. You begin to carry your struggles in silence, smiling through conversations, pretending that everything is fine just to keep the peace. And in doing so, you slowly distance yourself from your own truth, because expressing it no longer feels safe. But love was never meant to make you hide your wounds. It was meant to be the place where those wounds could be seen without fear, without judgment, without urgency to make them disappear. Real care does not rush your healing. It does not grow uncomfortable in the presence of your sadness. It stays. It listens. It allows you the space to feel without making you believe that your emotions are a burden. When someone treats your pain as an inconvenience, they are showing you the limits of their presence in your life. They are telling you, without saying the words, that they are only there for the easy parts, the lighter moments, the versions of you that require nothing from them. And that is not love, because love does not pick and choose which parts of you it will accept. It does not disappear when things become heavy. There is a quiet strength in recognizing this truth, even when it hurts, in understanding that your pain is not the problem, and your feelings are not too much. The problem is placing your heart in the hands of someone who only knows how to hold it when it is not asking for care. And you deserve more than that. You deserve someone who does not turn away when your voice trembles, who does not grow distant when your heart feels heavy, who does not treat your pain like something to be avoided. Because your struggles are not inconveniences. They are part of your story, part of your humanity, part of what makes you real. And anyone who truly loves you will never make you feel like you have to face them alone. There comes a moment, quiet, unfamiliar, yet deeply powerful, when you begin to choose yourself, not loudly, not with anger, but with a calm certainty that something within you deserves to be protected. You start to say no where you once said yes. You begin to pause before giving, to question before sacrificing, to stand still instead of constantly reaching. And in that moment, you expect resistance, perhaps confusion, but what you do not expect is distance, because suddenly the same presence that once felt so constant begins to fade. The calls are not as frequent, the messages not as warm, the attention no longer as eager. It is not a dramatic exit, not a clear goodbye, just a slow, quiet pulling away that leaves you wondering what changed. But deep down, you already know. What changed was not your worth, not your heart, not your ability to love. What changed was your willingness to abandon yourself for the sake of keeping them. And that is the part that stings the most. Realizing that your boundaries did not push them away, they revealed their intentions. Because someone who truly values you does not disappear when you begin to value yourself. They do not grow distant when you express your needs, when you protect your time, when you choose to no longer overextend just to keep them comfortable. Instead, they adjust, they listen, they find a way to meet you in that space of mutual respect. But when someone is used to receiving without limits, your boundaries feel like rejection to them. Your no feels like distance. Your self-respect feels like resistance. Your growth feels like a loss of control they once had. And rather than rising to meet you, they retreat to a place where access to you was easier, where your silence was more convenient, where your giving required nothing in return. Their absence, then, is not confusion. It is a response to no longer being able to take without question. You may find yourself tempted to go back, to soften your edges, to reopen doors you just closed, just to bring back the version of them that once felt close. But closeness, built on your self-abandonment, is not connection, it is quiet surrender. And every time you choose that path, you lose a little more of the strength you worked so hard to find. There is a quiet kind of courage in standing firm, even when it costs you someone's presence. In understanding that anyone who walks away because you respected yourself was never truly standing with you to begin with, because love that is real does not require you to shrink your boundaries. It honors them. It does not disappear when you grow. It grows with you. And so, if their distance follows your decision to choose yourself, let it. Let it be the answer you were afraid to ask for. Let it show you what words never could. Because the right presence in your life will never be threatened by your self-respect. It will be drawn to it, strengthened by it, and willing to stand beside you, not only when you give, but when you finally decide you deserve to keep something for yourself. There is a subtle kind of illusion that can feel almost like love, because on the surface everything seems appreciated. The things you do are noticed. The way you show up is acknowledged. The effort you pour in does not go unseen. They thank you, they smile, they keep you close. And for a while, it feels like you matter deeply in their world. But if you listen closely, if you look beyond the surface, you begin to notice something missing. It is not you they are holding on to. It is what you bring into their life. You become the comfort they rely on, the support they expect, the presence that fills the spaces they do not want to sit in alone. You are the one who understands, who gives, who stays, who fixes, who lifts. And slowly, without realizing it, your value becomes tied to your usefulness. The more you provide, the more they seem to care. The more you give, the more they seem to stay. And so you continue, believing that this exchange is love, that this constant pouring of yourself into someone else is what connection is meant to feel like. But there is a quiet emptiness in being needed for what you do, rather than cherished for who you are. Because when you pause, when you are no longer able to give in the same way, when your energy shifts, when your hands are no longer full of offerings, you begin to feel the difference. The warmth changes, the attention fades, the appreciation becomes distant, almost conditional. And in that moment, a truth begins to unfold that is difficult to accept. It was never your presence they were holding on to. It was your contribution. Real love does not attach itself to what you can provide. It does not measure your worth by how much you can give or how often you can show up for someone else. It sees you beyond your actions, beyond your usefulness, beyond your ability to make life easier for another person. It values your essence, your thoughts, your presence, your being, even in moments when you have nothing to offer but yourself. There is something deeply human about wanting to feel needed, about finding purpose in being there for someone. But there is a difference between being valued and being used, and that difference reveals itself in how you are treated when you have nothing left to give. If your worth begins to fade the moment your giving slows down, then what you were part of was never truly love. It was dependency dressed in gratitude. And the hardest part is not recognizing this in them, but accepting what it asks of you. Because once you see it, you can no longer unsee it. You can no longer pretend that being appreciated for your effort is the same as being loved for your existence. You can no longer ignore the quiet feeling that something essential has been overlooked. You were never meant to earn your place in someone's life by constantly proving your worth. You were never meant to be reduced to what you can offer. Your presence, your spirit, your existence, these things alone are enough. And anyone who cannot see that is not lacking your effort. They are lacking the ability to love you in the way you deserve. There is a feeling you cannot quite explain at first, something that lingers long after the conversation ends, after the time together fades into memory. It is not loud or immediate, but it settles into your chest like a quiet heaviness. You walk away not with a sense of peace, not with warmth, but with a kind of exhaustion that reaches deeper than the body. And you begin to notice that this feeling is not occasional, it is familiar. You start to pay attention to how you feel before and after being around them. Before, there is a sense of preparation, as if you must gather your energy, steady yourself, become ready to give. And after, there is depletion, like something has been taken from you that you cannot easily replace. Your mind feels crowded, your heart feels tired, and your spirit, once light, feels weighed down by something you cannot name. And still, you tell yourself this is normal, that love requires effort, that connection is not always easy. But love, even in its most imperfect form, should not leave you feeling empty. It should not feel like a constant exchange where you are always the one giving more than you receive. Real connection has a way of restoring you, of bringing you back to yourself rather than pulling you further away. It should feel like a space where you can rest, not a place where you must perform just to maintain closeness. When you are with someone who is truly present for you, even silence feels comforting. There is no pressure to be anything other than what you are. You do not have to prove your worth through constant effort, nor do you feel responsible for carrying the emotional weight of the relationship alone. Instead, there is a balance, a quiet, steady rhythm where both hearts give and receive without keeping score. But when that balance is missing, you become the source they draw from. You listen more than you are heard. You support more than you are supported. You give more than you are given. And over time, this imbalance begins to take its toll. You feel it in your hesitation to answer their calls, in the way your energy drops at the thought of seeing them, in the silent relief you feel when plans are canceled. These are not signs of disinterest. They are signs of emotional exhaustion. There is nothing wrong with noticing this. There is nothing wrong with admitting that something meant to feel good has begun to feel heavy, because your energy is not meant to be endlessly available to those who do not replenish it. Your presence is not meant to be a source others draw from without care or awareness. And the truth, though it may take time to accept, is simple. The way someone leaves you feeling matters. It matters more than the words they say, more than the promises they make, more than the moments that seem good on the surface. Because love is not just about how it looks, it is about how it feels within you. You deserve a connection that does not drain you, that does not leave you questioning your own energy, your own peace, your own sense of self. You deserve to walk away from someone feeling lighter, not heavier. And anything that consistently takes from you without giving back is not love. It is something you were never meant to carry for so long. There is a quiet kind of hope that keeps you explaining, keeps you trying, keeps you believing that if you just find the right words, the right tone, the right moment, something will finally click. You tell yourself they don't understand you yet, that maybe you haven't expressed it clearly enough, that maybe if you are more patient, more careful, more precise, they will see you the way you long to be seen. And so you begin again. You revisit the same conversations. You reframe the same feelings. You soften your truth just enough so it doesn't push them away. At first it feels like effort born from love, After all, isn't love supposed to be understanding? Isn't it supposed to require communication, clarity, patience? And so you give it all of that. You explain why certain things hurt you, why certain silences feel heavy, why certain actions leave a mark that lingers longer than they realize. You open doors to your inner world, inviting them to step inside, hoping they will walk through with care. But instead, something subtle begins to happen. The more you explain, the less it seems to change. You start to notice that your words are heard, but not absorbed, acknowledged, but not acted upon. You hear promises, you see brief moments of effort, but they fade as quickly as they appear. And then you find yourself right back where you started, explaining the same pain, asking for the same understanding, hoping for a different outcome from the same pattern. And slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to translate yourself into smaller and smaller pieces. You simplify your feelings so they are easier to digest. You remove the depth from your truth so it does not feel overwhelming. You start choosing which parts of yourself are acceptable to share and which parts are better left unsaid. Because somewhere along the way, you begin to feel that being fully understood might be asking for too much. But love was never meant to feel like a language barrier you must constantly bridge alone. It was never meant to require endless explanation just to be treated with care. Real understanding does not come from how perfectly you speak. It comes from how deeply someone is willing to listen. And when someone truly values you, they do not wait for the perfect explanation to treat you right. They pay attention, they learn you, they notice the patterns in your silence as much as in your words. There is a deep exhaustion in having to explain your worth to someone who benefits from not fully understanding it. Because as long as they remain unclear, they are never fully responsible. And you remain in a cycle of trying harder, speaking clearer, giving more, hoping that one day it will finally be enough. But the truth is you were never unclear. Your feelings were never too complex. Your needs were never unreasonable. You were simply speaking to someone who was not listening with the intention to grow, only with the intention to respond just enough to keep you there. And there comes a moment when you must ask yourself, how many times will you translate the same truth before you realize it is not your words that are missing, but their willingness to understand? Because love, real love, does not make you repeat your pain just to prove it exists. It hears you, it holds you, and it changes with you, without needing to be told the same story over and over again. Beneath all the noise, beneath the laughter, beneath the excuses and the explanations you give yourself, there is a quiet voice within you that has always known. It does not shout, it does not demand, it simply whispers. And at first you try to ignore it, to silence it with hope, with logic, with reasons why it cannot be true. You tell yourself that love is complicated, that people make mistakes, that they will change if you just give them enough time, enough patience, enough of yourself. And yet, no matter how loudly you speak over it, that whisper persists. It carries a clarity that words on paper or promises in the air can never match. You feel it in the moments of hesitation, in the twinge of discomfort when something is off, but you try to convince yourself it is not. You feel it in the exhaustion that comes not from life itself, but from giving your all to someone who does not see the value in what you bring. You feel it in the sinking weight of unanswered calls, unreturned kindness, and explanations that fall like leaves on hard concrete, heard but never held. Your soul knows this, even when your heart is desperate to believe otherwise. It knows that what you are experiencing is not love in its pure form, but a reflection of someone's need for your giving rather than your being. And this knowing is a kind of liberation, though it may feel like sorrow at first. It frees you from the illusions that keep you tied to someone who cannot meet you where you are. It teaches you that hope is not always a gift, that patience is not always a virtue, and that clinging to someone who uses you is not loyalty. It is a quiet erasure of yourself. Your spirit sees through the smoke of apologies, excuses, and charm, and recognizes the truth that your heart has been too afraid to speak aloud. They are not staying because they love you. They are staying because they benefit from you. There is a sacred wisdom in acknowledging this truth, even when it hurts. It is the kind of clarity that allows you to step back and see the pattern that repeated itself too many times to be coincidence. It is the understanding that no matter how much you gave, no matter how carefully you crafted your words, no matter how tirelessly you tried to meet their needs, their presence in your life was never about fully seeing or valuing you. Your giving was appreciated, but your being was not. And realizing this does not make you bitter, it makes you awake. Once you accept that quiet knowing, something shifts within you. You stop trying to force what is not meant to grow. You stop convincing yourself that love must come with conditions or sacrifice. You stop explaining, excusing, hoping, and bending. And in its place, you find a tenderness for yourself, a commitment to honor your own heart, and a recognition that your presence, your voice, your life is worthy of someone who will cherish it fully, not because you give, but because you simply exist, because deep down, your soul always knew the truth. It whispered when you were afraid to listen, it nudged you when your heart tried to deny it, and it guided you to the moment when you could finally see clearly. And now that you do, you are free to walk away, not with anger or regret, but with the quiet strength of someone who has finally chosen themselves.